My brothers and sisters, in today's gospel, we see this beautiful story of 4 people who brought their paralyzed friend on a mat to see Jesus. Mark, the gospel writer, tells us of how persistent they were. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. Now, these 4 friends, they could have called it quits after they saw the crowd. They might have thought it too difficult for them to bring their paralytic friend to Jesus. They may have gotten discouraged more easily and returned back home. But, says Mark, they did not. They persisted. They were not giving up. So they worked hard to raise the paralytic onto the roof. They opened the roof and cleared the way, carefully lowering their friend down in front of Jesus. Now, houses in that day were usually constructed with flat roofs. A set of stairs on the side of the house allowed access to the roof, which was used much like we use a deck in our day. These roofs were usually made by laying timbers across the top of the house. These timbers were then covered by a layer of branches. This was covered by a layer of clay tiles. And finally, a thick layer of mud was placed on the very top. This was rolled and pressed until it was very hard and rain-proof. So here is the humorous scene. Jesus is preaching in the house. These 4 men carry their friend up the staircase onto the roof of the house. Once there, they begin to dig through the roof until they have made an opening large enough to lower their friend into the house. Can you imagine this scene? As Jesus preaches, the sound of digging is heard overhead, and after a short time, dirt and wood begin to fall on the crowd assembled below. Then blue sky breaks through the darkness, and a man is lowered into the room. I wonder, like many of you maybe, what is Peter thinking, who owns this house? He probably didn't like the thought of seeing his house torn up. He may have wondered if his homeowner's insurance would cover the costs of repair. But Peter couldn't stop it. The same crowd that kept the 4 men and the paralyzed man out of the house kept Peter in the house. I wonder what Jesus thought. I imagine there is a smile on his face as he realizes what is happening. I am sure he is amused by the whole thing. I wonder what the crowd thought. Surely this had never happened in a worship service before. They were no doubt amazed at what was taking place. But these men, 4 men, they dared to do what was difficult. It was not easy to carry that man up on the roof. It was a difficult task. They dared to do what was unusual. They were willing to think outside the box. For them, it was not business as usual. They dared to do the costly. They might have had to pay for the cost of the repairs to Peter's roof, but they were willing to pursue and persevere. These men were willing to do whatever it took to bring that man to the Lord. What about us? How persistent are we with our friends? Do we have friends like the paralytic man? How far are we willing to go in loving God by loving our neighbor in need? A love that fails to be open to opportunities for healing is without the prayers, the faith, and the persistence of loyal friends, we would not be maybe sometimes in front of Jesus. Never underestimate what God is able to do with your help. We are Christ's hands, his feet, his mouth, his ears, helping our brothers and sisters in need. May we learn to be like these 4 men who helped the paralytic man, who put a smile on Jesus' face and brought healing to their brother.